What's up to all my freelancers and creatives? This is Nathan with another episode of Freelance Jumpstart TV. And in this episode, we're going to get into how to create a sales funnel. Many of you may be working on an idea or a product, and you're trying to think about how can you get someone to either purchase the product, or maybe you have something of value to offer and you're trying to grow your audience, you're trying to grow your email list, and you want to create something that is an exchange of information. Maybe you want some people's payment, so maybe that information is monetary. Sometimes maybe that information is getting an email address. But how do you go about building that? That's really what we're going to dive into. So really with a sales funnel, just so that we're clear, let's start with a definition. And a sales funnel is a sequence of steps or actions that take place and guide a potential customer from introducing them to your brand to the final step of making a purchase and then the follow-up. So that's the definition of a sales funnel, and there's different types of sales funnels that exist, but just to give a quick example, let's look at a commercial. So if you're watching TV, you may see a commercial. It's either going to be 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or maybe even a minute. And in that commercial, they're going to do a couple of things. They are going to introduce a product and tell you how valuable it is. So more than likely, they're going to show you how your life can be made better with this product, or they're going to show a general application of someone using that particular product. And then they're going to talk about maybe the pricing or how easy it is to get a hold of the product. And then once again, they're going to tell you where to go to purchase that product. Now, assuming you watched the commercial and made the purchase, sales funnel may look something like this. You watch the commercial, you get informed of the project or the product. You're interested, you go to the website. You look on the website, you go directly to that particular product. The commercial already gave you a primer or an introduction. You do a little bit more reading. You purchase the product, and you either have immediate access if it's a digital product, or they send something to your house. And that's pretty much the whole setup of how you were introduced to how it arrives at your house. So in terms of a sales funnel, it's pretty quick because they have 30 seconds or less than a minute really just to try to convince you. So commercials have a lot going on in them, and they really just serve as a reminder. And a lot of times they're one part of a larger sales funnel that exists to getting the customer to take interest and then finally purchase and commit to using your product. One thing that you have to consider when selling anything is also overcoming people's objections. Maybe people have some reservations about using your product. They want to know, is it really helpful to them? Is it real? Do you have any type of social proof? Has someone used this before? So there's certain objections people will form in their mind, and if you are doing a great sales pitch, then you will speak to those objections. But ultimately, you should also speak to those objections along the process of your sales funnel. So you have to take people from general observation, so they see what it is you have to offer, they're observing, to consideration. They're really thinking about committing, but they're not sure. And that's where you get into overcoming objections. And then after consideration, you have to get into the investment, or they're actually willing to pay. How is that experience? Is it quick? Is it easy? Is there any barriers that they have to do in trying to get a hold of the product? That honestly should be the easiest part. And then a lot of people end the sales funnel at the sale, but the follow-up is just as important. So after someone purchases it, how are you reinforcing that was a good decision so they can come back and make the decision again, whether it be with a different product or a similar product? So again, you got to take somebody from observation to consideration to investing, purchasing, and then finally the follow-up, right? Or the reinforcement of the fact that it was a good decision. So if you're listening to this right now, this is more than likely not the first time you've ever heard of a sales funnel. And I don't want to just talk all theoretics. I don't want to just keep things at a theory level. I'm actually at my desktop right now, and we're literally going to dive into how to create a sales funnel. Now, I'm going to walk through something that I've been working on just to show some practical application and some thoughts that I have in creating a sales funnel, just so that it makes the most sense. And we're going to walk through that. But also, just want to make this real. I think a lot of times on different podcasts that I listen to and different videos that I watch, they give advice, and that advice is great in theory. And then you're supposed to take that idea and think about how it can apply to your situation. But I wanted to mix a little bit of what I do behind the scenes with an actual episode, so you can literally hear me think out loud and take whatever learnings you can from this episode and apply it to any type of sales funnel you are trying to set up. Because everything you do in trying to convince somebody to make a decision can have an actual funnel or a sales funnel to it. So we're here at my desktop, and just want to quickly show you something that I've been working on. I've been working on what I call the client process workflow. And in other words, I've developed a client process that I want others to follow, that I found helpful in working with clients. And I've created an entire lead magnet for this. Now, for this exercise, this is going to be the product that I'm selling. So one thing that you have to realize as well is products are not always something that is monetary in terms of you're exchanging money between two people. People view access to their email account as valuable, right? They may not be able to put a dollar amount on it, but their attention and their email inbox is personal, is private, is protected, and they view it as valuable. So somebody giving your email address is a transaction, and that's what we're going to focus on for this. But I created a lead magnet simply just to say this is the client process. Now, I created a whole video that walks through how I went about creating this, and I'll give you the quick and short version. But more specifically, I looked at my YouTube analytics and I looked into what are my most popular videos, right? Based on, well, let me look at the overview. But based on watch time, which is one of the more important factors on YouTube, when I look at the lifetime of my account, so what is the most popular videos that I've had recently, if we scroll down to my top 10 videos, and I'm gonna zoom in, look at my top 10 videos based on watch time. This actually changed, so pricing psychology went up first, but client process workflow is one of my more popular videos, so it's always getting new people to view this video. It's either about pricing or it's about client processes. So I literally took the information in this video and I distilled it down to something that's valuable, something that they can read and absorb, and taking the information instead of watching the video. And I made it look aesthetically nice so people can take in the information and see it. And this is my lead magnet. And as I mentioned, there's a video that you can watch, and I'll walk you through how to do that. But this is, in a sense, what we are selling, what we are going to sell. I'm going to create a page where users can, simply click and say they want to download this lead magnet, and they will give their email address, and then they'll be sent an email. But I'm going to walk through the thought process of all the steps that I came about in doing this. So in setting up this lead magnet, let's talk about the process of setting up a sales funnel. Now, normally people tend to walk through what happens in the beginning. So they say something to the effect of, somebody goes to my website, and then after they go to my website, or maybe they see it on social media, and it takes them to a landing page, and then they click and say they want to download it. That's what most people do. However, I recommend building backwards. And what I mean from that is, we're going to build this sales funnel backwards. We're not going to start with what the first step for the user is. What we're going to do is, we're really going to go backwards. We're going to start with the actual thing someone is downloading, and then work backwards all the way to when they first get introduced to this new lead magnet. And one of the reasons we are doing that is a lot of people, as I mentioned, they do it the front way, or the way that the user journey travels. However, we're doing it backwards because it's a lot easier to create marketing material, landing pages, ads on Facebook, if you're going to create a Facebook ad, or ads on any other type of social media, ads for Google AdWords, Bing AdWords, Bing search, or whatever you're going to do, it's a lot easier if you work backwards, because what is the value, or what you've created as the product, when it already exists, it's easier to write a page about what someone is going to receive in terms of value. And then once you have those two pieces together, it's easier to create advertising material from something that already exists. Sometimes it's difficult to try to write advertising copy or try to create advertising ads to something that doesn't fully exist yet. And in terms of building an online course, yeah, that might work, because you're saying what the course is going to have, and then you're going to work on the course. So that may work. But in terms of this application with a lead magnet, build the lead magnet first and then talk about what it is. So in thinking about the entire process, this lead magnet actually leads to something else. It leads to someone getting on my email list and me developing a relationship with them, and then finally introducing them to a product. That product can be a book that I'm writing. That product can be an online coaching session that I offer. That product may be my web design services, or me analyzing their website or analyzing their business and doing an analytics report or road mapping session. So there's many products that I can pitch to them. However, that's the end of the cycle, that they've signed up for a product. The beginning and the lead magnet plays a role. So there's like a small funnel for the lead magnet, and then a little larger part of it that gets deep into they actually are getting an actual product from me. So we're playing the long game here, but let's talk about what I'm going to do, and I'll just share my thoughts. Since I have many products, let's say I am going to sell an online coaching session. I have coaching sessions available, and actually if you're watching this video, there should be a link in the description below with a unique discount to anybody who's interested. So for a coaching session, that'll be made available, and I'll put that in the description. But I do offer coaching calls, so that'll be the product, and then I'll say this is the lead magnet just for the sake of this video, this episode, and this exercise. So let's start at the end. The very end would be somebody gets an email summary summarizing what happened on the phone call and what the next steps are. So this would mean that we had a coaching call and they received the email, but we're working backwards. So they have an email. So then that would mean I need to write the email out, which will vary per person, but that's something that I'm going to do. Taking a step up from that last step, that means I'm actually on a phone call with somebody. So we are actually on a phone call. We are doing a coaching call. We're talking for an hour. What I need to think about in terms of the funnel is, how is that phone call going to be facilitated? Is it going to be over cell phone? Is it going to be a regular phone call where we talk on the phone? Is it going to be through Skype and we're discussing on Skype? During that Skype call, is it going to be recorded? Are we going to talk and record the call? Also, is there going to be any type of screen share? So I need to think about, am I using Google Hangouts? Am I using Skype? And am I using something like Zoom.us or any other feature? Those are things I need to think about, because we're working backwards now. And again, if I've already thought about some of the more essential things, it'll just be easier, or at the top part of the funnel. But in the bottom part of the funnel, I do need to have an email summary to summarize the phone call, but I also need to figure out how am I going to record and or facilitate that call. Going up from there, as I mentioned, we're on the phone. Like I said, I'm using Skype or Google Hangouts to facilitate that coaching call. That's fine. However, thinking one step ahead of that, if we're on Skype, how did we figure out what time was best for each of us, right? So that means I need to think about scheduling. Is that going to be handled through email? Are we going to do a calendar share and then we just pick? In thinking of this application, I think it's best to consider something like Calendly. They also have something called Acuity Scheduling as well. Those both work, but the way I have it set up in my funnel, I'm using Calendly.com, and what that does is I can send a link to somebody and they can click on the link and see the available times that I have, and that syncs up with my Google Calendar. So wherever I have availability based upon what I said my availability was in Calendly, it'll have a lot of booking slots open for an hour, and someone can choose a slot. So again, prior to the Skype call and talking to someone on the phone, I have to figure out how I'm going to handle the scheduling for that specific call. Something to think about. Moving on from there, since we're on that, I mentioned somebody clicks a link and they chose a time, right? So then that would mean when we take a step up from there, I had to send them an email, right? So I had to send them an email mentioning that they need to schedule a meeting, right? So what is that email going to say? How do they need to be prepared for the phone call? And also, how do I need to make it obvious that they have to click this link to schedule a time? Otherwise, there won't be another phone call. I probably need to consider writing the email and maybe even crafting a follow-up email so that it can serve as a reminder if they don't click on anything. So I probably need to set something up that says if someone gets sent an email to schedule and then they don't click on anything, then send another reminder saying this is a reminder to book your time. So I probably need to build that in there. See, now what we're getting into is things are starting to come to light because I'm working backwards. I'm thinking about the main product offering and going backwards, and now new things are coming up as we talk about them. So that's why I said working backwards would help. So again, I need to write an email inviting them to schedule a time, and there probably needs to be a reminder with that as well. Going one step up above that, more than likely a purchase happened which triggered an email being sent. So again, how am I going to set up the purchasing of coaching time? Now let's go back to my actual desktop, and on my desktop I'm going to go to a specific link that I've already created, and it's coaching, right? So on this page it talks about coaching. So when I mention a purchase is made, they are more than likely going to make this purchase on this particular web page here, and they're going to choose an option, hit add to cart, and it has to be quick and it has to be simple. They're going to choose that, hit add to cart, and then it'll be in their cart and they can check out, right? They go to proceed to checkout, and then they go through the process of putting in their names or any other additional information and making payment, and then they move on, right? So whatever that may be, I need to make sure that they have that readily available and it makes the most sense for them to check out, right? So yeah, I need to think about that as well, that they are filling out the checkout and they are moving forward in the process. In my case, I already have this product created and the billing setup is already set up using something called WooCommerce. That's what I'm using to facilitate this on WordPress. So that would work, and I already have this set up. So we have that. They make a purchase, they get an email of the next steps telling them to schedule a time. They might need to get a reminder email. Then they get that reminder email. It has something they can click on so they can schedule a time for us to meet. We both meet at the appointed time. It's facilitated through Skype or Google Hangout. It's recorded. We're actually talking on the phone. Things are great. And then I send an email summary as a follow-up. So that's where we are right now. But there's still more to go up besides making a purchase. So the question would be, how do they get to this purchase page? What did they do to get here? And what actions took place? So going up from there, more than likely they view the actual landing page or product page for my particular product. And on my desktop, you can definitely see really quick that I've written out and set expectations for this product, what's the next steps and what you need to do. So I've outlined that there, and that makes sense. So they're going to view the landing page and then make a decision. But we got to take another step back and think about, how did they get to the landing page? How do they get here? What happens before they get here? Glad you asked. So again, going back to the desktop, that is why I showed off this lead magnet and why I was talking about it. And if you look at this particular lead magnet that I've set up, when you get to the last one, or the last page of the lead magnet, it actually has and says, it's a call to action. You know, I'm saying, hey, the next steps can really help you, so on and so forth. Now on the screen right now, you can see an actual book that I have to offer that could be the next step. But another thing is, I could also duplicate this and make another page and, you know, have my coaching services. I can say something to the effect of, did you find value in this guide that you read? If so, we can definitely talk about more things tailored to your business on a coaching call. Now, when I do that, the CTA here can go to the actual coaching call and it can take them there, right? So again, that's the thought with that the reason they get to the coaching landing page is because they came from a lead magnet that I created. We got to take another step up. So how are they going to get the lead magnet? And again, I did a quick video about it that I'll put in the description in the show notes. But how do they get the lead magnet? It's available on my website. They can go to resources, and when they're there, they actually look at the lead magnet and they give their email address, right? And then that's how they get into it. Now I have to take a step up again, because someone has to ask themselves, what am I using to facilitate getting the email address and delivering them the lead magnet? Well, there's two things, again, that are popular. One is I'm using ConvertKit, but at this time, ConvertKit is changing to Seva.com, but that's the service that I'm using. I can either have them give me their email address and then ConvertKit Seva automatically emails them this, or I can have them give me their email address and it automatically redirects them to a place on my website where they can download this, right? Taking a step up from there, how did I decide on what was the best lead magnet? And again, that's why we looked at YouTube and saw that it was one of my more popular videos and I chose it, right? So again, looking at everything that I've put together, that is my sales funnel. And my advice to anybody listening is work backwards. Think about somebody has your product in their hand. Ask yourself, how did they get it in their hand? Did they buy it online? Did they go to a store? Then think about, they're at the store. How did they get to the store? They saw a billboard, they saw an ad, or maybe they bought it online. Okay. When they get it online, how is it going to be delivered to them? What is the shipping? Working backwards just lets you think about things from a more objective perspective, because you know things don't just happen without there being some type of trigger to it, right? When you're working the other way, you're trying to think about what might be the next step, but when you're working backwards, you're saying, well, the product's in their hand, they had to get it somehow, and it forces you to think about those things that may not come straightforward or it may not be second nature. It makes you think about those things and call them out. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video. I greatly appreciate it. If you like anything I had to say, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any comments to add or you want to know anything about more specifics, feel free to leave a comment below and I'd be happy to answer that specifically. Again, as we've been looking at this sales funnel, I will detail everything I wrote out in the show notes. So the actual sales funnel that I created, you can see it in action, you can see how it works, and I'm going to detail that, and you saw a little bit into the mind of how I work. Not only that, but as I mentioned, the lead magnet that I created that I showed you in this video, I am also going to have another video where I show you behind the scenes of how I created that and a little more of the logic of how I put that together. Well, thank you for time to check out this video. I greatly appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next episode. See ya.